Welcome once again to State of the Game with Nikki Batgirl D'Angelo. Today is going to be quite a endeavor to try to talk to you about what's going on here. Of course, it's going to be another All-Star Citizen game, though I do have two other games I follow at this point, and those would be, of course, Elite Dangerous and the upcoming title from Eric Wingman Peterson's studio, Descendant Studios, Descent Underground. But this week, it's All-Star Citizen, and the biggest reason for that is the first patch to take us beyond pre-alpha has hit the live servers. And it hit in a good way on Friday and then just blew up on Saturday. The first piece that started falling apart inside of this patch was the actual install. The install required that you uninstall the old version of Star Citizen. Now, the Star Citizen executable was residing in the documents directory because I guess it was easier for them to do the updates, or maybe they wanted to keep it out of program files because it was an alpha or pre-alpha. Nonetheless, you uninstall the old one and reinstall the new one, and now the executable is going to sit inside of your program files directory. Well, big deal, because most of you don't care about that. You click on the button regardless, or I should say the shortcut of where it is. Me, I put it in the dock on my Windows 8.1 self-built, home-built computer. And that's all I knew. But this probably does change something, well, something a little bit. I'm not sure what that is. So wherever it's residing, that changed. The second piece that started to go south there, because people were a little bit unsure, why do I have to uninstall to reinstall? But the second piece was actually getting it to download. Error after error, not being able to find path, HTML errors, all sorts of things started to plague people. I think I was one of the few people that was able to download it in 2 tries, and the first try was because, well, my internet failed halfway through the first download, and I didn't realize that. I've been having some internet issues here in Georgia with Comcast lately. But most other people tried and tried and tried and tried and tried, and still, to no avail, weren't able to download it by Saturday. Sorry about that, guys. It really is a good patch while it was working. Buggy still, but kind of fun. Actually, things to do in it. Well, Saturday came, as I alluded to, and then it got even worse. It was no longer about being able to download the full file, which they said was corrected about 3 or 4 or 5 times. Sure, there's some things going on the server end, which we'll hear about in a letter on Monday. But the matchmaking system, or the the multiplayer system, whatever you want to call it, is just not working at all as of Saturday night. And here it is Sunday morning, and I'm still not able to get into a multiplayer match. Well, for what it's worth, it worked for a little bit for those of us that were actually able to get it to download on Friday night. And for those of us that got it downloaded on Friday night, we were able to rack up some UEC. I think I racked up somewhere between 20 and 30,000 UEC, or sorry, REC. Wow. REC, UEC, sorry, please don't beat me up for getting that wrong. But I racked up about 30k of REC on Friday night by doing various things. This is one of the pieces of the game that I was in, and this is, of course, is the New Horizons racetrack, and it's just a classic race, not the big one that some people never have tried. There are 3 racetracks. This is the most common, and I was able to rack up about 830 or 820 REC in my first race. That's not a lot, and of course I didn't win. This M50 that's in front of me probably didn't have some of the issues that I have. Well, what issues are they? Well, when I installed the new program, I totally forgot about going and setting up my joystick, and after doing that how to set up your X55 video last week, I personally do not have an excuse. But my all of my curves and my dead zones and everything were erased, and that's a bad thing when you're flying with a very accurate or very sensitive joystick. And I had to go back in there and edit them to make it work better. So in between this race and the next race, I was actually able to do that. And of course you see me crashing quite a number of times just trying to get through here, and that's because sensitivity on my joystick is so high that as I pulled back just a little bit, I was going right up into the roof. As you can see there, sorry, I racked up 875 UEC for the first race I had. So Friday night went pretty well. I had a few races, 3 of them. 2 successful, 1 DNF because the Mustang Omega I think may be broken. The Gamma flies very well. The Mustang Omega just likes to slip slide all over the place. This is the Gamma. And then I got into a couple of multiplayer games, mostly Vandal, co-op Vandal Swarm with the Enablers, my organization. And of course you see me crash right there. But it, I guess the game itself still has its bugs. But there's a lot more to do in the game now with UEC. And you're saying, well, if I'm one of those people that went out and bought everything, well, that might be me. I've got quite a number of ships in my hangar. What do I need REC for? And I'm going to get REC, UEC wrong for a couple weeks until I get settled into calling it what it is. Well, there are going to be more and more weapons, systems, shields, which I guess you could put under systems, weapons pylons, and paint schemes and different things that you'll be able to buy with REC. The first example will be this. I have a Gladius, and my Gladius is, at this particular point in time, well, it's underpowered. It comes with 2 of the Bulldog CF007s, and I believe they're fixed. So the first thing that you might want to do if you're a keyboard and mouse player is pick up one of the gimbal mounts and throw those Bulldogs on gimbal mounts, and you'll get much more accuracy with the way that you fly. Well, for those of us that use HOTAS, you might want to pick up 2 CF117s. Or, after one of my fellow enablers taught me, 2 OS6s, which of course are the Omnisky or Omnisky. You call it what you want. I still don't know what the real term is, but I'm just going to call them OS6s. They're the weapons that are on the 325A. And you throw it on there. And REC is a perfect way to get them at this point, because why are you going to spend UEC at this point when we don't know what things work and what things don't? So that's something that you may see later on in this video, but after I bought those, to be honest with you, I couldn't get into a multiplayer match at all. And maybe it's not the best thing for me to show you. So REC is a different aspect of the game at this point. We're still testing, so now CIG has the opportunity to have a whole bunch of weapons, a whole bunch of pylons, shields, and ships tested that people might not have been flying before. Now, REC is very straightforward at this point. You win, you make a lot. You lose, you make a little. Every hit inside of one of the multiplayer combat ones, you get some UEC. If you win the match, you get a lot. If you lose, you get a little. Every kill you get some UEC, and that's it. So where am I going next? Well, now here I am getting UEC and REC mixed up again and again, please. It's going to take some time for me to work through that. You might have CIG at some point in the future say, you know what, for every kill that you get in Aurora CL, we're going to give you an extra 3x REC. And that's going to be a way that they get people to jump into the Aurora CL and test the flight model. And of course, why am I going to jump into a Aurora CL? This is just I picked the one ship that I guess you would be least likely to see inside of the universe at this point. You might even get some things like for every minute spent inside of Capture the Core, which I think is one of the most fun things that you could do inside of Arena Commander right now. Well, I won that race, and I don't see UEC listed on the bottom, and I gotta wait for the other guy to finish, I guess. Wow, that's weird. Anyhow, you might find that you are going to be getting UEC to play the other 3 race modes, so they can start balancing those too. There it is, 1470. Not bad. I guess if I had a better time, maybe that's what they do also. Better times get more UEC. But not bad, right? For 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 minutes of flight, that's a good thing. So the REC that you're making in the game has a purpose, and it has a purpose both for us to be able to get the things that we want and don't want to spend real US dollars or euros or British pounds or whatever your currency is on the actual game at this point. And when they say that every ship is available that's currently in the game, every ship but the limited ships, okay? I did not see like Super Hornets and 350Rs and I've seen the Gladius. Oh, this is the Mustang Omega I was talking about, and its flight model is just all over the place. And this might be something that they go, alright, all you folks that bought the R9 version of the, bought an R9 series card and got this Omega, go out and test it. Well, I tried, and I tried, and I tried, and I just didn't do anything. But look at that. I DNF'd, and I still got 833 REC. So, the game has a lot of cool things going for it, and I think it's going to be good once they fix the server end of it. And again, the servers are just crap right now, and they are doing their best to track down what's going wrong. And of course we tested this. You might say, you know what, we've tested this. There were people in the PTU for the last few weeks. What do you mean that it's not working? Well, it's not working because now, instead of just a few thousand people that jump into the PTU, you've got 500,000 people jumping into the player universe, and they might have had a bug that couldn't be seen with that few people inside of the PTU, but totally took the system down inside the live universe. So I am looking forward to the bugs being taken out of this alpha. Remember, it's an alpha. We're here to test it. And finding out what's... not finding out, and seeing just how wonderful this game is. So at this particular point, I've walked inside of my Retaliator just to show you guys that some things have been corrected. If you go in your Retaliator right now and go up to the ladder, you could actually use it. And go up to this, I'm going to call it a disappointment up here. This is a very disappointing area. I guess I'll grow to love it, but at this particular point, without anything working, not being able to see the sleeping areas, or I guess you could call them the hypersleep chambers or escape pods working, I guess it's not going to look as impressive. Also, without the seats and the turrets working, there are going to be some issues. Alright, and I do want to clear up something also. Since this is state of the game, I'm going to bounce back and forth. I talked about there being no co-pilot on this ship, and the thing that gets me about the way the ships are made in Star Citizen at this point is there's so much old technology. Oh, there's a tiny bed again. I guess you get hit by a shrink ray before you get into it. So, the thing that gets me about the ships in this game right now is that there's so much 20th, not even 21st century, but 20th century meets sci-fi in it. So you got these very big ships, they're spaceships that fly with these jump engines and quantum engines, and yet they have old technologies like manned turrets. And even at the end of World War II, the big bombers like the B-29 had remote turrets. So I'm wondering if that's something that you personally would like to see change also. I personally think that the turrets on something like this should be remote. And as far as Copilot goes, and I am sure that AI has progressed over 1,000 years to the point where I don't need to have a Copilot. This piece is just getting thrown in there so you can see how easily you can start racking up REC. This was a co-op Vandal Swarm, and I did fairly well, and when you look at it, it was a co-op, but the other guy lost connection, and I got 3,708 REC. So the next piece is going to talk about landing a little bit, and this is something that was added into the game. And do not do what I do here, because I did not realize that it's not just the end key that you have to use for landing. I just jumped into it, and I didn't do the one thing I always tell people to do. Read the manual. Read the manual so you know how to fly. Read the manual so you know what your keyboards are. Read the manual so you know what the particular procedures are. And I did not. So I didn't realize that it's not just hitting the end key, but it was also using the secondary fire button on the joystick to enable landing mode. And I didn't get that done here. But regardless, landing was pretty fun. And this particular part of the game turned into a grief fest. And I'll give you some insight on that here. Now, these two guys were just having fun. Nothing else. They weren't griefers, but their fun intruded on me a couple of times. This gentleman in the Avenger crashed into me and killed me once or twice when I was landing, and the guy over there on the right shot me down one or two times. And not in a bad way. I think that they were just trying to have fun. They weren't your typical griefers that were just doing it to annoy you. Nonetheless, I started to take part in it, and I started to feel bad. And I'm going to show you one of the places where I felt bad. Now, I'm going to be going in for a landing over here on this landing pad. And to my right should appear another Gladius, and that Gladius belongs to take on Oriani. If anybody knows him, I would please ask you to send him an email and tell him to contact me at theaddictedgamer@gmail.com, because for him being my first FPS kill, I'm going to give him 10,000 UEC. Okay, I know I've got that name wrong a couple of times. But all he was doing was trying to land his Gladius, and he was probably doing what I did the first time I was in the PTU, was to test out the damage system. Oh god. And what I'm doing here is I'm just going to land, and it's not a great landing because I didn't have landing mode on. I'm going to open up the canopy because I see him getting out, and I figure, hey, let's go talk to him. Right about this time, I start hearing some laser fire, and I think he might be firing at me. I didn't look over. I just wanted to get out of the ship. And once you do that, you don't have any control once you hit the F key on where you look. And I realized he's firing at his ship. So I decided, you know what, you can't just fire at your ship. That's UEE property. And I shot him. Take on, I am very sorry for it. This was the moment that I felt as bad as you could. But the death animations were pretty cool, especially when you keep firing at somebody on the ground. I promise I won't do that to anybody that doesn't ask me to do it in the future. So the whole REC thing has to have a purpose, and that purpose has to be to test the different things that are in the game. And one of the things is balancing each spacecraft regardless of what you put on it. So here I have my Gladius. I have a size 2, I believe, front. It might be size 3. Yeah, it's a size 3 in the front. And size 2 mounts on the wings. So on the wings you could put either gimbaled size 1 weapons or fixed size 2. Well, being a joystick pilot, I chose the OS6s and bought them with REC and put them on the wings, not realizing I could have just used them because they were sitting there because of the free week that we have inside of the Arena Commander module at this point to fly anything and use anything. Nonetheless, I put those fixed, and then I used the gimbal mount that was there for the weapon that's usually on the front of this. I think it's the Scorpion Gatling gun. Took that off, and I put the much more powerful, much more devastating Sledge 2 up there. I started to test out this with my new curves and stuff built into my, set to my joystick. Moved my weapons groups around at some point, so the primary trigger was firing the OS6s and the secondary was firing the Sledge 2. And I found the perfect combination for what I want to use on my Gladius at this point until other weapons come out in the future. And there will be other weapons. So this is what REC is going to be about. It's going to be about testing the pieces of the game that are in there. Now, the things I didn't change out on this were the different shields. Right now we just have the ink shields made by ink, of course. And we don't have anything made by anybody else like Gorgon, so we're going to have to wait until those get in the game. So REC does have a purpose, guys, I promise you. And I know some of you say I already own everything under the sun at this point, but it doesn't matter. REC is going to give you an opportunity to test anything that's out there, and you never know what the better combination is. I've been putting CF 117s on this and saying it was really good, and now that I put these OS 6s on it, this is going to be the loadout I use on my Gladius from now on. Now, to just test the Gladius out against the 325A, because the 325A, of course, already has this weapons loadout, I bought myself a 325A with REC, only because I wanted to do it for the game. Of course, there's already a 325A in the Arena Commander module I could use because of the free week. Totally forgot about that. Nonetheless, that's something that I might do in a different video where I compare the two ships to each other. At this point, what I can tell you is the patch, once it's actually fixed and you can get in and have multiplayer matches, is definitely worth it. It's not without bugs like any other alpha out there. But the bugs are bearable, at times unbearable at others, but you know, they've shown a track record to put something out there and get it fixed. I'm sure that won't be their track record in the live universe, but for alpha of a game, a early access game for testing the systems in the game, I think that this is a very good addition to the Arena Commander module at this point. And I'm sure once they get this fixed, we'll be talking about FPS. So without taking any more time, I think I've babbled quite a long time. You've seen some races, you've seen some free flight, and you've seen a couple of minutes of combat. With that said, guys, I look forward to talking to you again this week. We've got 5 for Ben Lesnick coming up on Tuesday or Wednesday. Please have questions for that in whenever you can. You could use the starcitizenaa@gmail.com email address to send your questions. Just put 5 for Ben in the subject field. And I'm trying to get the devs on. I've been trying to get one of the producers on. And that's something that I hope happens because there's quite a number of questions that we'd like to ask the devs that don't get asked on 10 for the Chairman, because those questions are only coming from subscribers. With that said, folks, you all be safe out there, and I'll talk to you soon.